Welcome to Live Cornerstone. We're so happy to have you here today. It's been a weird week, huh? Just as I was thinking about today, I was thinking about, I love these breaks in life that we get to be home. I love being home. I love being with my family. But it's been different than I expected. We've had a lot of family time, but it's not always quality family time. And last night we were sitting around together. Riley's teaching himself guitar. Landon was singing with me, and a song came to mind that I really wanted to play with my family because Raylan, a couple weeks ago went through some really hard stuff with school, and this song came on the radio on the first day that I was driving her back to Sunset Ridge, and it's "The God Who Stays," and I just want to read you the words from the chorus because as I was listening, it brought tears to my eyes, and when I talked to Ray, it brought tears to her eyes too, because we felt like it was God speaking directly to us, to God who stays with us. You're the God who stays. You're the God who stays. You're the one who runs in my direction when the whole world walks away. You're the God who stands with wide open arms, and you tell me nothing I have ever done can separate my heart from the God who stays. And so that's what I want to encourage you guys with today. He's the God who stays. So let's get started.
Hey, thanks for opening, Lindsay. Just really powerful, those lines, the God who stays. That's actually part of what we're talking about today, a little bit of what we're getting into. I'm doing a little more Bible study than I do or have been doing in some of these videos. Welcome, you guys. It's good to be here with you. Good to be connecting this way. I just realized I meant to put on a dress shirt. I even thought about doing a tie today. I thought that would be hilarious to wear a tie the one day that I'm actually speaking out of my home. So we asked a question last video I made, and the question is one that I haven't asked as much as I've heard people asking recently. It's, did God cause this? Is God behind this? Where is God in all of this that we're going through as a people and a country? Maybe the simpler version is, why is this happening? Last video I said, it's really the wrong question. Honestly, I'm bored of that question. It's not very exciting to me. A much more interesting question is, how will God use what's happening right now for his cause? What's God gonna birth out of this time in history? And then we turn that question into, how can you join him? How can you join his cause? If you'll remember, last time on video I said, the expression "okay boomer" has become "are you okay boomer?" In other words, how can I help? How can I serve? The irony of social distancing is that people are actually coming closer through some of this. People were once memeing about boomers. Now they're shopping for them. Now they're calling them. Now we're filling up gas for them and setting up internet at home and doing live streaming videos like this. I want to continue to encourage you guys, church. Continue to bring about the good that God is already birthing right now. Go ahead and turn to John 9. Jesus is asked the same question. It seems like he has about as much patience for it as I do. John 9 is all about that. We're going to read it a couple times. So you can turn there if you have a Bible. John 9, starting at verse 1, starts like this. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him." All right, guys. There's so much broken with this passage so far. I mean, I love the Bible. One of the things I love about the Bible is the Bible is its own harshest critic over and over and over again. The Bible is just unflinchingly, baby, hard on itself. John writes this as an old man, and he's essentially saying, we were so far from getting it. Do you see this? We were so far from understanding who God is and how Jesus perfectly reveals God. Jesus didn't have conversations about humans when he could have conversations with humans. I love that. Jesus didn't have conversations about people when he could have conversations with people. He loved to draw people into the conversation. But you see here in John, the disciples, these aren't random people. These are the people following Jesus, the disciples. They see a man, and instead of conversing with the man, they say, hey, Jesus, who sinned here that this guy is, like this? How come he was born blind? The disciples turn this guy into a theological question. People do this all the time. We want to turn people into theological questions, moral questions, religious questions. Guys, don't do that. Jesus doesn't do that. If it's between a person, a human, an image bearer, or a question, err on the side of the person. Jesus always treated people with kindness and compassion like human beings. Are you with me, church? Are you with me, guys? It's kind of fun to see everybody's names pop up here. God is like Jesus, and Jesus loved people no matter what. Jesus loved people so well. John records this in this passage. Even though John has already changed by the time he's written this, John would never go back to being the kind of person he was when he asked this question. John wants us to know. I mean, look, it's right here in the text. John wants us to know, hey, man, hey, guys, it's okay. We didn't get it either. We didn't understand who he was, and so we asked this question. Rabbi, who sinned? This man or his parents, that he was born blind? This question, you guys, this question is not interesting to me. I've heard it again and again and again and again. For some reason, people like this idea. It's an old idea. It's been around a long time. It's way older than this passage. It's an ancient idea. It comes from the very oldest of religions. It's the idea behind Zeus or Mars or Mammon or Baal. This question. It's not the right question, but it has been around a long time. It's the idea that gods are like humans, just more powerful. Maybe a smarter, stronger version of humanity. In other words, you please them and they bless you. You offend them and they curse you. So the disciples look at this guy who's clearly cursed, and they say, hey, Jesus, who offended? Who offended the gods? Who offended God? You know, it's that old expression, God created man in his image and mankind returned the favor. Often theology has this understanding that it's almost like we think, how would I act if I was God? And then we assume that God would act like that, as if God is just a bigger, stronger, fancier version of a human. But you're not like God. And I'm not like God. We're just not. That's why the Bible calls God holy, which just simply means other, set apart. He's different than we are. If you need proof of that, John 13, the same guy that wrote this passage, same guy that tells this story, John writes this about Jesus. John 13, verse 3. Jesus knew. Oh my gosh, you guys. This is so good. Listen to this. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water in a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. In other words, when all power, all authority, when everything possible was in his hands, he took off his clothes and he washed feet. Engaged in the lowest of low tasks for his day, he took off his garments of nobility and he served. That's how we know that you're not like God and that I'm not like God. Because this is God's natural reaction. This is God's natural state of being. He doesn't handle power the way that we carry power. He just doesn't. Back to John 9. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. All right, it looks as if Jesus is saying, this man was born blind so that I could do this miracle and his life could point to God. If in fact that's what the passage is saying, I don't think it is. But if it is, most of us wouldn't have an issue with that. Why not? Well, mainly because we're not the blind guy, right? And even if we were, we might accept that. Man, I knew a blind guy. His name was DJ. This was his favorite passage in the Bible. I saw him lead people to the heart of God almost like nobody else. I once introduced a kid who'd gone through a lot of trouble to my friend DJ. DJ was permanently disabled because of an abusive situation as a child. He'd been beaten very, very severely. DJ believed that everything that had happened in his life was his opportunity to witness to this God that he had met. Man, so DJ and this kid that I was working with one time, this kid had nothing to do with me, didn't want anything to do with me, didn't really like me. One time they weren't in chapel where they're supposed to be, and I thought, man, where is this kid? What's he doing now? I went outside. He was standing out next to DJ, tears streaming down his face because DJ, a blind man, had introduced him to the God who had let him see. And my friend, this kid, he became my friend. I remember him saying to me, this guy's blind, but man, what I wouldn't give to be able to see how he sees. My friend DJ died a couple of years ago. I'm telling you, man, he's now seeing crystal clear. He's now seeing Jesus in the flesh. I love it. If that's what this passage was saying, some of us wouldn't mind that. Some of us would be okay with that. If this passage was saying, this happened so that the works of God could be displayed. This happened so that God's glory could be seen. That would be okay for some of us. If that's what it's saying, this would be the only place in the New Testament, the only place that Jesus says something like that. Every other time, Jesus and his friends are either silent about why something happened the way it did, or they claim that sickness, that tragedy, that hard things are the result of demonic activity. Look at in Acts chapter 10, verse 38. Peter is given a kind of an overview of the life of Jesus, and he says this. Check this out. He went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil because God was with him. Now, Peter here, he's not referring to an incident or one time in the life of Jesus. He's giving a summary of the work of Jesus. Jesus, the one who's God, this is what he does. This is what his life looks like. He went around doing good and healing all who are under the power of the devil because God was with him. The question, guys, is this. Is this the picture you have of God? Is God the one that spends his time going around doing good and healing all? That's the picture that Jesus' friends draw out. Back to our passage. This is, I think, the third time we've read it. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. So even a straight reading of this particular translation would say God is glorified not by causing afflictions, but by healing afflictions. God doesn't create these things for his glory. He heals these things for his glory. But check it out. This translation, the one I've been reading 3 times now, has words in it that aren't in the original text. These 3 words, but this happened, have been added to our text to help us understand, to help make sense of the text. We do this all the time. This is the work of Bible translators. In most cases, it helps with readability. In this case, I think it does a disservice for us. The Greek word that Jesus' friends, these disciples, use is simply the word hina, and it means that. And so they ask, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus' response doesn't have, but this happened. It just has, so that the works of God may be displayed in him, with the word hina again. So I'm not a language guy. Without going into language specifics, you guys know, I just go online for this stuff anyway. You can do it too, just interlinear Greek put in the text, and it will show you word for word the original language. A better translation of this passage would read like this. Neither this person, so here's Jesus' answer. Who sinned? Why did God cause this? Who caused this? Neither this man or his parents sinned, but let the works of God be displayed. Neither this man or his parents sinned, but let the works of God be displayed. Did God cause this? Is God behind this? Why is there so much evil? Why is there so much sickness? If God is in control, as people say, why is this happening right now? Do you see how relevant all these questions are? Jesus looks at his friends and he's like, hey guys, wrong question. Neither this man sinned, nor his parents, but let the works of God be displayed. It's not about who ticked off Zeus or Thor or any other gods or God. It's not about who offended the God, but it's about the healer. And Jesus goes, he's about to show off. So the question, again, I get bored of it. It seems simple. Is God the cause? Isn't the question that pulls me in? The question that pulls me in is, how will God use what's happening right now for his cause? And then more personally, how can you join? How can you join in his cause? I just want to read the entire passage now. We're going to read the passage. I'd love to unwrap this, but it would take all day. But we're going to read it and just have a few more thoughts here. John 9, as he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. And then our new translation, but let the works of God be displayed. As long as it's day, as long as it's day, we must do the works of him who sent me. That's us. That's me. That's you. That's Jesus. We must engage in the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. After saying this, verse 6, he spit on the ground. He made some mud with the saliva. He put it in the man's eyes. I love this stuff, man. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went, washed, and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begged, asking, isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, no, he only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I am the man. I'm the guy. How then were your eyes opened? They asked. And he replied, the man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. Where is this man? They asked him. I don't know, he said. You gotta love this stuff, man. Jesus isn't even around. He makes this mud. He puts it in this guy's eye, and then he sits back and waits. He knows they're coming to him. He doesn't have to go to them. He makes his paste, and he's like, oh boy, this will be interesting. Verse 11, they brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now the day, John loves this stuff, man. John goes nuts for this stuff. Now the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore, the Pharisees also asked him how he received his sight. He put mud on my eyes, the man replied, and I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. So now you have people judging Jesus for healing, for what he's doing, going around and doing good and healing. And now they're judging him for it and saying he can't be from God because he didn't keep our rules. He didn't keep our law. My son Landon loves this passage. Him and I studied it once a couple of years ago, and he's brought it up a couple times. See, it's illegal, or it was illegal, to work on the Sabbath. It was illegal to heal on the Sabbath, but specifically there was a law that says you should not make paste on the Sabbath. Jesus knows exactly what he's doing, man. So he gets some mud and he's like, I'm not just going to heal him. I want everybody to understand I'm going to make some paste. I'm going to work and I'm going to continue to do good and to heal. This is a huge clue. This is a huge clue for followers of Jesus. Wherever good is happening, you guys, don't miss this. Wherever good is happening, God is working. Wherever people are being healed, God is working. often far outside our boxes and boundaries, God is working. You know, when we ask the wrong question, we almost get it backwards. I mean, come on. We go, God, why? Why is all this evil happening? Why are these terrible things happening? Why is this sickness and death? Why? Why is this going on? Guys, stop looking at the suffering and the death and the virus, the ugly, the brokenness, and asking why. Let's look instead to the healing, the freedom, the beauty, the new life, the places where God is breathing fresh hope and peace. And let's ask how. Not why is all this suffering, but how is God healing this? How is God using this for His glory, for His good, and for the good of the people that He so dearly loves? And then again, you want to make it personal. How can you be part of doing good and healing all that are under the power of the devil? Power of the devil might scare some people. Nobody really wants to be under the power of the devil. You can say that any way you want. It won't offend me. How can you be part of healing and doing good people that are in broken patterns? People that are stuck in addictions. People that are going down the wrong path. Whatever language you use for what Jesus is talking about right here. How can you be part? How can you join in? We already talked about generational divides. This idea that we had a big divide in our country between, honestly, different generations. God's healing that. God's bringing these people together. It's like it's like a reverse survival of the fittest. The fittest are now helping the weakest survive and make it. That's Jesus, man. Along with that healing, where else? Where do you see priorities shift? Where do you see things changing? Come on. 2 months ago, if we talked about taking away all sports, if we talked about closing the doors of church, come on. They're just gone now. Those things are gone. And here we are, surviving, connecting. Come on. 2 weeks ago, if we talked about grocery store workers, you know, you go in and you see a grocery store worker or a gas station worker, they were just that, really, for most of us. Unless one of our kids or one of us worked there. But now, these people are rock stars, along with teachers and nurses and police. 2 months ago, we took for granted walking into a restaurant, having to wait in a line to be seated, being in a crowded place with other people. Now you walk into an empty restaurant, you walk into an empty store, and you have this growing awareness of the desire for human interaction and connection. I'm telling you, man, God is healing things that were broken. It's what He does. He brings new life. He brings good. Even as we search for cures, for a cure to this vaccine, He's already curing things that are broken in the human heart. It's historical. I love it. Don't let religion get in the way. Don't let moral questions get in the way. Don't let theological questions get in the way. It's as simple as this. Wherever there's good happening, wherever people are being healed and set free, that's where God is. Get there and join Him. Don't miss this, man. Don't be on the sidelines. Get there and join Him. I want to offer just a simple prayer as we wrap this up. It's super simple. You pray it in your own language, however you want, but this is how I kind of wrote it here. It goes like this. I'm going to say it once, and then I'm actually going to pray it with you guys. So once I'm going to talk to you. Second time I'm going to talk to God. Here it is. It's simply, Jesus, disease, sickness, and darkness, man, they have no part of you, and they're not from you. Open my eyes. Show me how I can join you in being part of the cure, in doing good, and healing all, because that's what you do. And where those things are happening, that's where you are. All right, I'm going to pray this. I'd encourage you guys maybe watch this one again. There's a lot of theology in here. There's a lot of places where, you know, maybe it's a small shift, but if we made it together, if we made it as a church and a people, the whole world would change. At least our worlds, the people in our lives, the people around us, the people that we're trying so hard to do good to bless and to heal. So I'm just going to pray this now. I'm going to speak just directly to God, I guess in front of you guys. So God, I ask that you would help me understand in a perfect and pure way that you are not part of sickness, of disease, of death, that those things are actually the opposite of you. So the question isn't, God, why have you caused these things? The question is, God, how are you going to heal these things? God, how are you going to turn these things, this brokenness, into something good? And then, God, would you open my eyes? God, if you have to spit and make some mud and rub that stuff in my eyes, whatever it takes, God, would you open my eyes to how I can join you and be part of the cure in doing good and healing all? Thanks, God. Amen. All right, Salt Lake, stay healthy, stay well. Man, it's been fun just being able to connect with some of you guys the last few days. I'd encourage you, look me up, give me a phone call, send a text. Let's get together either online or maybe a little bit in person out in the mountains or something like that. Hope you guys are well. Bye-bye.